So the best thing that I would say is find a niche and become really, really good at it.
100%.
You know, because there's people that they go to single family, they go to multifamily, which is fine, but they're kind of all over and they never get really, really good at one thing. And so the numbers sometimes don't always make sense. And so, you know, get really familiar with what you want to do. Do you want to be a landlord? Do you want to and have that generational wealth? Yeah. You know, but again, you can also hire a property management company. So there's ways where you can put your money into things and also like take that. Let's say you don't want to be a landlord. You can kind of delegate those things out. Yeah. So I would really you know, sit down and think about, what do I want? Do I want to fix and flip? You know, I know people who have a surplus in money, they only fix and flip. Wow. So they would really need to figure out, what do they like to do? What do they want to do? And like I said, there's people we work with in California that lend on properties here in Chicago with us, and they don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to, but you know, they're making a couple $1,000s at the beginning of the loan. 100%. They're making 15% plus some money when we sell the property. Like, if you put those numbers together, they're making a lot of money on just lending money for 3 to 4 months.
No, facts. Welcome to another episode of Kicking In with JB. Today I have the beautiful, you know what I'm saying? It's been a while. You know, it's been
a long time.
It used to be Tori, but you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is Victoria.
It's
Victoria now. You can still call me Tori. Some of my friends or some of our old friends probably still know me as Tori.
Yeah, man. I probably haven't seen Tori since I was 16 years old.
Probably. It's been a really long
16 years old. But no, so Tori, explain to us what you do, because then that'll explain to the people like what we'll be talking about today.
Why we're here today. So I've gotten into real estate within the last couple of years. It's a huge passion of mine. Learning so many different ways to get in. We've done wholesaling, fix and flip, you know, buy and hold, Airbnb, where we wanted to get into vending machines actually also. So we're kind of all over. We're still figuring things out, but real estate's definitely where my passion has gone.
Exactly.
So
and that's crazy, because I, like, with the guys I work out with, my homies and other, like, I guess, athletes, we wanted to get into all that. Like, I remember we had a stint during the pandemic where we were just like huge on bigger pockets. Yep. We looked into what do you call it? Vending machines, like you just said. That's crazy you even said that. But yeah, stuff like that. So like, what got you into real estate? Because you used to be a trainer. Well, you still are a trainer.
Yes, I'm still a trainer.
Side hustle queen right here.
Exactly. You have to. You know, you have to have so many, especially if the pandemic taught us anything, it's that we got to have so many different sources of income. You never know at any time how something's going to just change. But I got into real estate mostly, you were asking about training. So I'm still a trainer. I had a business in the city of Chicago. We were going into buildings. We were training people in their actual homes. So we had no overhead costs. Wow. We didn't have to bring equipment. We just trained them there at their building, left, and you can charge a premium because you're going to them. You're like a service.
That's facts. That's fire. So then how did you get from training into real estate?
YouTube. It was figuring out, how are all these people making money? If you look at some of the top wealthiest people in the world, or not even just the top, just people who have consistent, money of just like their cash flow, things like that. So many people are in real estate. You know, there was a statistic I saw one time. It was like 90% of people who are wealthy or have a certain income are all in real estate in some way. If you look at celebrities, or we've been talking about athletes even who have realized how great real estate can be to leverage your money, things like that. So that definitely caught my eye. I definitely want that generational wealth that people talk about, which that's huge in real estate. You know, when you talk to people, they talk about that generational wealth and passing properties down, and then also the cash flow. You know, so that's definitely what got me into it. And then YouTube, just kind of like a black hole dipping in. My fiance is the one who kind of, talked about, certain ways we can start to get into it with little to no money. And we just kind of jumped on it.
Man, so you were like, okay, my name is Victoria the trainer. I train people at their crib. I want to get into real estate. Like, so let me go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And now you're going crazy. You know what I'm saying? People will see, obviously, when they see your information. But, like, how? Like, you know what I'm saying? That's like I thought that's the easy answer. Yeah, YouTube. Then like now
I think
buying and flipping houses because I wanted to do the same thing, but I was just like, it was like you said, it was a vortex, and you kind of get stuck in that vortex, and it's intimidating, man. You know what I'm saying? Because I when we were just talking just before this, I was like, I wanted to get into real estate, and like from like the outside looking in for like the normal, person, it kind of feels like to get into real estate, you need to be an athlete, you need to be an actor, you need to be someone who has money, an accumulation of wealth. So how does like the normal person, like the 9 to 5, exactly, you know what I'm saying, who doesn't have a surplus of money to really throw at a building right now, who's just kind of like, but also wants to create generational wealth, wants to build that wealth for the family. What is your advice to them? Yeah,
so I think that's why I love real estate. So YouTube is the easy answer, but I think people underestimate YouTube because there's so much free information, free game, and you can always find whatever the answers you're looking for, like they're all on YouTube or Google or something. So, I think people just quickly go to the gurus or the people out there that want, they want quick answers. They don't want to do the work. They don't want, but honestly, like that's where we learned our passion for it, was learning these things, and we also made mistakes and learned along the way. But it helped also having a partner next to me who also was just as hungry for, the generational wealth. We talked about it since almost day one of like, I want to provide for my family. I want, there's a certain life I want to give, and I want to be there for my kids when, we're a little bit older, and 100%. To be able to help them and teach them, and also teach them something like this. Yeah, set them up on the right foot. Yeah, so it definitely helps having a partner, because there's sometimes where I'm in a slump, and he helps motivate me to get to kind of keep going, or vice versa, whatever it is. But for the people that normal everyday, the normal average day
just person, got their $600 stimmy.
Yep, exactly.
And that's trying to figure out
that's enough to get started. Actually, that's all. We started with maybe $200. I
don't believe that.
So the reason why we got into it, we were reading this crazy thing, and we're sitting here like, there's no way this is true. It's called wholesaling. At the time, you didn't need a license in Illinois, so I should tell people you now need a license in Illinois to do it. But we can talk about it later. I do it virtually in other states as well that do not require a license. Wow. So we can get into that. But we started with maybe $200, $250. It was... We got bandit signs, so if you ever see the signs on the side of the street that say, "We buy houses for cash," if you see... sorry. We had 250 signs that we ordered. Yeah. And then also we were texting. We were able to skip trace people's numbers off of a software that we would get addresses of vacant homes, of people who aren't paying their taxes, liens on properties. There's a very easy way. You can go down to the courthouse. You can go down and get these lists of homes, and there's softwares in place that you can literally put the addresses in, skip trace the homeowner, contact them. I have to pay for each lead, but it's about 20 cents. So it's only 20 cents a lead. 20 cents. Even if you pull a massive list, you might pay a couple $100. But, we put $250 in for all of that, and we generated a $10,000 deal. So
you put $250 in to buy these signs, and then to get the people's numbers who had vacant houses.
And sat on our couch, started texting people, "Are you interested in selling your home? Do you want, and that's pretty much it."
So what is like the definition of wholesaling? Because obviously you said you started with $250. You said, we'll buy your house cash. Yep. You don't have the money to cash. So what is wholesaling?
And are we actually buying the property? Yeah, that's the confusing part.
So like, what if it's like, oh yeah, I would like to buy my house. My house is $50,000. Yep. Now they're looking at you like, where my money at? You know what I'm saying? Exactly. So what are they? So what is wholesaling exactly?
Yeah, and usually we do it in about 30 days. So it's also very, very short time.
That's a quick turnaround.
Exactly. So,
and that's what I be saying. Sorry, that's what I be saying with the with like wholesaling, because they be like, yeah, I just made $20,000 in 2 weeks or something like that. I'm just like, bro, how?
You're like, what?
You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, like, how you do that?
You're lying.
I don't believe it. Yeah, show me the money. And then they like show me the check, and I'm like, bro, that doesn't even make sense. So from my just like very like premature like kindergarten knowledge of wholesaling is like, you are selling the contract of the house, and it's like, say you find like a rundown house, low key, and then and that house, and they want to sell it, they just kind of want to get rid of it. Yeah. And then so say a house is like $20,000 or like $50,000. Yeah. But they'll sell it to you for $35,000, but you can go sell that house to $50,000 to like some contractor, and then you take that whatever.
Exactly. And so that's why when we're texting people, like we're really looking for people who are motivated. So
to
we're
get
not
rid of it.
Yeah. So we're not looking for people who are like, yeah, this is the market value. You know, where they're saying like let's say on the market, because they want to charge a premium, that market value. Let's say on the market it's worth $50,000. Yeah. Usually, you know, in comparison, we might offer them $30,000. But again, you have to consider, if I'm going to give it to an investor, it has to be worth it for an investor as well, because you know, they're going to be putting money into it. They want to make money at the end. People aren't going to put thousands of dollars into a property if they're not going to make anything at the end.
100%.
Yeah, so that's why it's so crucial for us, and we kind of have like an algorithm down now where we find these motivated sellers. We get the property, and we now have, over the last couple of years, built a list of buyers where I know what they're looking for. I know what they want, the price range, how much they want to make. Usually people want to make minimum $40,000 on a flip. So those are like good numbers where I'm like, okay, this is going to be a good deal. Now I know where I need to come in, tell them, you know, this is as much as I can offer. So exactly like what you said, like I might have a contract with the seller that says, hey, you know, I'm going to buy your house even for $10,000. I work in the south side of Chicago, so honestly, sometimes I buy houses for $5,000 to $10,000.
That don't even make sense. That don't even make sense.
Yeah.
So you could buy a house for $5,000, you said?
Yep.
Wait, so you're buying these rundown houses. But how do you get a seller to purchase that house? Because what if the house isn't in the best neighborhood? Like, what if the house is really, like, what if the house is just like in pretty bad shape? Like, how do you get that investor to purchase that property? Because I understand it, but like, I just don't understand how. Like, you can obviously you sold the contract for what, $35,000 and sell it for $50,000, but how did you get that investor to invest $50K into like a
neighborhood like that?
Yeah, or like a house like that.
Yeah, so a huge thing, and this is something that we're doing a lot, and this is why I've kind of targeted the South Side, is because you know, there's so much potential in these neighborhoods, and we're also trying to bring a good name to gentrification. A lot of people have like a bad feeling when it comes to gentrification, but like the contractor, like my partner who is buying a lot of these homes, and like he's hiring people from these neighborhoods. He's giving jobs, because to him, he'd rather give them a job as a contractor than being on the street. Yeah, 100%. So we're trying to go in and like, you know, add positive wealth or positive, you know, jobs and to these communities, not 100%. Just go in as an investor, try to make as much money as possible, you know, run people out of a town or a city that they've lived in for years, raise property taxes. So we're really trying to go into these neighborhoods, which there's so much profit, because just to give you an example, there's a property we worked on last year. We sold it it was around $60,000. I think the investor put, let's just say, $100,000 into it, so $160,000 total. He sold it at the beginning of this year for like $325,000. So you subtract $325,000 from $160,000, and you can do the math. When you go into places like maybe Logan Square or maybe like these higher Lakeview areas, you're going to pay a premium, and also you might put $50,000 in, and you still might only make like, you know, a couple $1,000s. The profit margins are just so much bigger in some of these areas because of how cheap you can get it. I mean, there's blocks where you can literally drive down the street and it's boarded up. Like, you know, and the thing is like, I drive through and I see potential.
I was just going to say, I'm like, you probably drive through and like, oh yeah, I can see it.
I love it.
This is going to be a good street right here.
You know, I have people that, family members that live in California, and they won't even come over here because they're like, south side of Chicago. I'm not even going to Chicago in general because I'm afraid of south side of Chicago.
100%.
I'm in there every single day. I love it. I see the potential. I see how it grows. And honestly, like, I've met so many people in these areas, and I've built my own network in these areas and we all have the same like end goal of trying to bring and also, like, you know, we want to help the community in a positive way.
100%.
We have a goal to give people jobs. We have a goal to teach people how to fix their credit. We want to go in and teach people financial literacy. Ooh. So we have like a huge goal. You're
going crazy right now. Man,
going crazy.
You spitting facts right now. I want to be a part of it somehow. If I can.
We are just so passionate about what we do because, you know, it is real estate, but you can impact so many lives.
100%.
And we see so many people and families affected. I mean, there's times where I've gone into homes and I was just looking at the property and there was someone who he wasn't paying his rent apparently, but the seller wanted to get rid of the property. Yeah. And this man was like just in tears. He thought I was there to kick him out. Like he literally, and I wanted to get out of the house because I'm like, this poor guy just thinks I'm coming in here. I'm going to kick him out. And he has nowhere else to go. This is home to him. And, you know, people talk about, you know, there's a huge divide in Chicago and I see it firsthand every single day. 100%. And, you know, especially this year with, you know, this is getting into a little bit more of like politics with the Black Lives Matter and things like that. But this is my way of, you know, speaking out and giving back and making a stand because the people that I work with are from these areas. The people that I'm working with and helping are literally like they live in these areas and they want to keep the community culture. They want to keep, and like that's huge for me.
100%. And like when you said like that G word, gentrification, and that's kind of like you said, we want to bring like a more positive light to it because like when I hear gentrification, I feel like they just trying to kick everybody out and make like yoga studios and Starbucks, and like that's what I'm thinking of as gentrification. So, but now that's dope to hear you say that. So that kind of leads me into like my next like kind of question / statement. Like, so I've always been told that like. Well, obviously, I'm just learning this now, like with like the pandemic and all that. But that just generational wealth is obviously the ultimate goal, and like to do that, like a great way is to buy land. So, do you believe that is true?
Yeah, and I was joking with you before that we joke all the time that they're not making any more land. You know, so it's a great investment because again, they're not making any more of it.
Exactly.
So we see where the generational wealth comes in is it's like anything. Like you don't just make. Or let me go back. So the wholesaling is nice because it's a quick check, right? Like it's great to have just like a month. You got $10,000-$20,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know, when we work in California, there's times where it's $100,000 spread. So depending on the market, you can make a huge profit, but really quick.
Oh, facts.
But you know, in a fix and flip, it's a fat check. You know, it's good. You for a few months, you fix, you flip. You might make $50,000-$60,000. That's awesome. That's great. Some people love that. But where we see the generational wealth come in is by having a property, putting a tenant into it. Yeah. It's a long-term hold, and you are constantly collecting rent.
Exactly.
So to give you like a perspective, we're working on a house right now. It's in Calumet City, which is like close kind of to the Indiana border. Yeah. And we're paying about, you know, all in to fix it up, to buy it, only about $50,000-$60,000 tops. Yeah. It's worth at that price like maybe $120,000. So we got it really cheap. So that's the value also of like finding these very cheap properties.
So you got it at $50,000-$60,000, but it's going to be worth $110,000.
Yes, by the time that we're done with it. So this is where we weigh out our options. Yeah. Do we want to, you know, we could wholesale it and get a small $5,000 to $10,000.
Exactly.
We could fix and flip it. We could sell it. Let's say we put even $50,000-$60,000 in and we sold it for $110,000, $120,000. We get that fat check. Or do we, you know, put a renter in there and over like 10, 20 years have this property paid off. Exactly. And if rent's coming in at $1,400, by the time that property's paid off, we could be having $1,400 every month. Yeah. But then I guess I have to take out like you know, cost of like you have to have an emergency fund, you got to pay for taxes and things like that still. So subtract that from it. But that's how people start to build their real estate empires, by holding on and not trying to get that quick, you know,
quick check,
that quick money. It's nice, you know, but in perspective, like if you want that money coming in, you got to hold it and just wait.
100%. So then what's your advice like to people who aren't the best at being a landlord? Like, would you be comfortable being a landlord? Because I know that's not for everybody. You know what I'm saying?
It's not. So that's one thing in real estate that I love as well is some people don't want to get their hands dirty. Some people don't want to be a landlord. They don't want to deal with the people.
You got to call them at 3 a.m. like, yo, my washer and dryer not working.
And those are the things that people don't think about is they're like, well, do I want to to be a landlord? Do I want to deal with people, like you said, waking up at 3 a.m? And not everybody does. There's people who specifically, they just lend money, and they just say, we have friends right now that are lending money and working on projects with us, and they're making a 15% return in 3 to 4 months.
No, for sure.
Which is great. That's better than the stock market's going to give you.
Man, ooh.
Okay. That's a gem. But I'm going to say it. That's a gem. And so, I mean, between being a lender, fix and flip, not everybody, again, wants to be a landlord. So you might want to fix and flip if the numbers are right. I hear every single person, whenever I ask, are you looking for properties? They're like, if the numbers are right. That's like one of the biggest statements I hear all the time with people in real estate. They're like, if the numbers are right, I'll get the property.
No, facts.
But, like fix and flip, if people want to be a landlord and they're up for that challenge or up to try it for the cash flow, generational wealth. Because, again, you can also pass those properties on to your children. You can pass those on to family members.
That part.
There's also huge tax incentives for real estate specifically.
Okay.
That, we won't get too far into that. That's a whole nother, black hole. But there's huge tax incentives for people who also get into real estate that are really, really, I would heavily, consider.
So, obviously, there's all these great things that come with real estate. But just like with anything, there's also those hard, those difficult moments. So, with all this that you've been doing, what's been the most, difficult part to deal with in your profession? Obviously, that man, at his house was definitely one of them. But, what else has been, a challenge or something that, you had to come back from?
Yeah, so the pandemic was probably... that really changed our mindset in real estate. Yeah. So I would say that kind of was our biggest struggle. We're closing on a property, or we just did a couple days ago, that took us, we were supposed to close on it last February or March. And we were supposed to take that project and take that money, put it into another one. So we had a whole list of things that we were going to do.
Exactly.
We were really going to focus last year on fix and flip and then also buy and holds. Yeah. So we kind of had to stall out some of our plans for that. And we had to kind of focus just primarily on wholesaling, which I'm glad we did, because we actually ended up creating a very strong... So we kind of focus on wholesaling. So that's probably how we came back from that. And we actually found one of our strongest partners through the wholesaling that we're working with a lot in Chicago.
Oh, that's amazing.
But besides that, it was probably the Airbnb. We opened up an Airbnb in November, which, knowing this is the November before the COVID started, or before the pandemic started. So this was 2019.
I was gonna say, y'all opened the Airbnb knowing
no.
You know what I'm saying? About to
no, this was like
locked
November.
In the house.
Yeah, no, right before the pandemic started. We loved it. It was awesome.
Really?
It was probably
great.
It was one of my favorite projects that we did, because
is that new to you?
Yeah, that was new, brand new. Again, we learned all of that off YouTube.
I need to link the YouTube video she be watching, because I need to see these YouTube videos.
We literally call it YouTube University, just because of the fact that we learned everything off of YouTube.
That's crazy. I need to see them YouTube videos
seriously.
You be watching, because I'm probably watching the wrong ones.
I'm gonna put a plug. I have no association, but the Flip Man is really good for wholesaling.
The Flip Man,
Flip Man. Bigger Pockets is amazing as far as learning information online. Their books, their podcasts, everything. They have literally everything you need to know. Those are some really good people.
No, that's fire. That's crazy.
But going back to the Airbnb, because that one was really interesting. So what we did was called Airbnb Arbitrage. Which is you're pretty much renting a place out like you would a regular tenant. So you're paying rent, but obviously we tell the landlords, you can't just go in and run an Airbnb and the landlord's going to be like, who are all these people coming in?
Exactly.
And, and so they can cancel your lease. So hopefully nobody do that without telling the landlord.
For real.
So we told the landlord, we're going to be running a short-term business. And he loved it. He loved the idea.
So you pay the landlord too?
So we pay the landlord. Okay. He charges us like we're a regular tenant. So let's just say we paid $1,500 in rent. It was located in Logan Square.
Okay.
So we're paying that rent, and we're running this business outside of this property or this apartment. And you can make 2, 3, 4 times like what the rent is.
The 1,500.
Than the 1,500 in these areas. And so you have people coming in. We were managing everything because we wanted to be able to know the ins and the outs. I feel like in any business, you should know every position of your business before you delegate it out, instead of, because that way I can say, look, okay, when someone reaches out and does this is how you handle the situation. Yeah. Because we had to filter out people that came in. Like 100%. If people wanted to come in and throw a party, we couldn't do that because that was actually a huge liability with Airbnb. You know, we would look at people's reviews. We would look at, you know, how did they take care of the place? Because we also had to look at it as we want to create a long-term relationship with this landlord. Yeah. And we want to stay here for a while. And this is clearly a very successful business that we're already running. So we need to keep him happy. We need to make sure people coming in. And also there were neighbors. Like it was in a 3-unit. Okay. So we had to make sure that the people coming in, those neighbors felt safe. They, you know, they weren't disturbed too much. Yeah. So let's just say we made $3,000 just to keep it easy numbers in profit for Airbnb. You know, granted, you still have to pay for laundry to get done. So we had a laundry. We were working with a local laundry, you know, place. They would come in on cue at 10 a.m. every single day as the guests checked out. We'd give them the dirty laundry or towels, whatever, and we'd have it ready to go by somebody to come back in a few hours for a new guest. Wow. COVID hit, and obviously the numbers, people weren't traveling anymore. March was actually supposed to be our most successful month because it's spring. There's a lot of concerts. Things are opening back up. It's not so cold. We had a 98% cancellation rate. So when we were going to almost like 100% to the complete opposite, it was 100% almost full. Exactly. We went from, you know, we were going to make almost $4,000 that month to like, you know, only a couple hundred. Yeah. So you keep in mind, like we're doing an arbitrage version. So we still had to pay the monthly rent. Exactly. You still got to pay that landlord. Exactly. Bro need his money. Yep. Luckily, you know, I'm always kind of thinking ahead, like, what if the world is like,
exactly, you know, world ends tomorrow, like, I'm gonna be ready.
So in our contract, before we got so before we got started, I was like, we need to put something in the contract that says if rules or regulations and change in Chicago, we need this in there so that we can get out of the lease at any time. So we did, so and we wrote it in there because I'm sitting here a worry body. Like you got to think of all these situations. Exactly. Like, you know, even though it's successful, what is your exit strategy? How are you gonna, you know, what if it's not as successful? What are we gonna do? Wow. So we thought about it. We kept, you know, we held on for about 3 or 4 months, and finally at that point, you know, we kept thinking it was going to open. They kept saying, and I'm like, I don't think this is going to end come fall. And then fall time for Airbnb is a little bit slower. So I'm like, it's not going to be worth it. I think we need to kind of pull the plug. Exactly. So unfortunately, you know, we did, but we gave the owner, we kept paying until the owner, just out of respect to him, because we pride ourselves also in good business, pretty much in just telling him, look, we're going to make sure that you find a tenant before we leave you, and just leave your, you know, because, leave in good graces. Yeah, because also for him, like, he pays a mortgage every single month. 100%. He also, so like, it's not just me that selfishly needs to, I made the decision to go into this, so I need to make sure that I'm not leaving someone else in the middle of a pandemic. He was also very, like, he was an older gentleman. Like, I'm not going to leave him in a very, you know, in like a vulnerable position. Exactly. Yep. No, that's really dope. Wow. So let's backtrack a little bit. So what is your advice to just that person who is watching this video, or obviously damn near me, you know what I'm saying, who wants to get into real estate but doesn't really have that much, like a crazy amount of money? Like where do they start? Yeah, I would say wholesaling is the easiest way. It's very low risk for, you know, financially, and then also just the whole concept of it. There's very little risk that goes involved, or that is involved. So that's probably where I would start. Go ahead. So with wholesaling, like you get say you do the wholesaling, you get a property, but now you're having a hard time finding a buyer. Mm-hmm. What do you do, like, in that aspect? Yeah. So I'll start kind of from the beginning of how. So we do something called driving for dollars. So if I was doing something like the cheapest way, which is, this is how we started, because we didn't want to put too much money into it. Exactly. We thought it was too good to be true. Facts. When we first started, I was like, I don't know about this whole, like, wholesaling thing. It sounds too good to be true. How do you make $10,000 from, you know, this and that? So, and also, like, I wasn't as familiar with some of these rougher areas. I've lived in Chicago or, like, Illinois almost my entire life, and I barely even have been to some of these areas that are a little bit rougher. You know, like I said, there's blocks where there's vacant buildings. So if I had let's just say I wanted to stay $200, $250 or less to start off.
There we go.
I would do driving for dollars, which driving for dollars means you're literally driving up and down all the streets. You find one little area that investors are in. I tell people, look for where are contractors, where are their trucks at, where are dumpsters, like where are people working? Because if there's investors already working in that area, most likely they know something that you don't, and that area is, there's a reason why they're investing. Investors 100%. Know they're not going to put their money into an area that isn't worth investing into. Yeah. So start in an area where, there's boards. I mean, the areas I go in, there's boards on the windows. Yeah. But it's not even just always in rougher areas. I live in Logan Square, and there's buildings down the street from my house where they have those big orange water signs, the Chicago City water signs, because their water has been shut off. Yeah. Just because it's a nicer area doesn't necessarily mean that there's no hardship when it comes to, financially paying for your taxes or your mortgages, or it doesn't matter. Me, primarily, I focus more on the south side. That's kind of where I initially went. Yeah, so I would drive for dollars, they call it. I would write down on a piece of paper literally every single address that had boards up, the grass was overgrown, or the garbage cans were out. Like, you could just tell that no one's living there. Exactly. It's obviously not, like, habitable. Yeah. And I would write the addresses down. You can use, here's a little plug for PropStream. There's a website called PropStream, PROPSTREAM. Okay. They have a 14-day free trial. That's probably one of the most important softwares that I use. Yeah, free promo. Yeah, right? That one is $99 a month, but there's a cheaper version if you're just getting started. You can pay about 15-20 cents probably per address that you put in. Yeah. And so you can, let's just say you had a list of 50 houses. Like, I tell people that I'm mentoring even, like, I'm like, every week, give me 50 to 100 houses where you're just giving me addresses, or they're doing the addresses, going on this website on
50 to 100 houses?
Oh, yeah, 50 to 100. That's easy. I could drive for an hour in the south side, west side, and I could gather probably 200 homes in a day. Like, that puts in a perspective of, like,
that's how many, like, homes are in that bad of shape.
Yes. Wow. All over the place. Like, that's one thing I wish that people saw. And if you look at how close it is to the city of Chicago, like downtown Chicago, it's only a couple miles away. For real. That you're really going out, and it's a completely different Chicago that people have no idea is 100%. There. So let's just say you went out, had 50 to 100, and if you're doing this every week or at least every month consistently, you are going to get a deal. Like, I can almost guarantee that. Really? Taking those addresses, putting it into, let's say you didn't want to pay the $99 a month for PropStream, a cheaper version. It's called REI Skip 2.0.
There we go.
I got so many plugs for other businesses and companies, but honestly, like,
these are her mentor you.
These are literally the gems. Like, I give people that I work with that I like work with, that I like, we give out free game all the time. Like, we don't hide anything back. Yeah. And going to that website, putting in each address individually, one by one, you're only going to get charged. It's like not like a subscription for the contract or contacts that you put in. So you're only going to pay like maybe $10 for those 50 homes. Yeah. And then text them individually, each one by one. Oh, really? And if you don't want to use your own phone, you could use like a Google Voice. You could get a different phone number.
WhatsApp or whatever.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. So now you're texting people and saying, hey, I'm a local investor. Are you interested in selling your home? Let's say they say yes. You say, okay, great. That's where it's really important that you offer them the right amount. So there's a certain formula that people use to make sure that it's the right price. Because remember, you have to buy, like, investors are going to buy these properties at a discount. Yeah. So that's going to be the most important thing, is like, how do you know the asking price? How do you know how much to offer them? Facts. So that's going to come in, and that's something that people are going to have to do. It's easier for me to kind of show on a piece of paper, but you can take what it's worth for market value. And we usually offer about 30% of what that's worth. Yeah. Mostly because it needs to be worth it for me to put my fee on top. And some people think wholesaling, we make $10,000, $20,000 every single deal. Sometimes it's not like that. I've worked on a deal for 6 to 8 months before, and that one was a horrible deal. It ended up being the one where I learned the most about real estate, though, and it was the most beneficial one, but I only made like $2,000, $2,500 from that deal. So not every single deal is going to be, a great
$20,000, $10,000
exactly.
check. Yeah, 100%.
So yeah, that's the way that I would start. Go driving for dollars, get used to the neighborhoods. And honestly, there's times where I jump out of my car because I see people working. There's contractors working. I'm like, hey, who hired you? Who's working with you? Do you know other investors? Like, you have to be a people person, and you got to start growing your network. Like, if you want to be a successful wholesaler, you need to go out there. You need to grow your network. You need to talk to investors. You need to, speak with people. What kind of properties are you looking for? Because as soon as you get a property like that, that's when it's going to be really easy to just send a property to them.
100%.
Easy close.
Wow. So driving for dollars.
Dollars.
What are contractors? I don't know.
What are contractors?
Yeah, like what do you mean by like getting out your car and talking to contractors?
Yeah, so like just people working on the building. So they might be like working on the roof. They might be coming in with like wood for framing, or you can just tell like from the outside of a house when someone is working, or like construction workers when they're going in, or because most likely if they're working on a project, they're working with an investor.
100%.
You might run into an occasional owner who's just trying to do a little touch up on their property. But for the most part, when I run into people, that are, you can tell there's usually boards up or it's a rundown building. And usually I know like this is most likely an investor who's there.
100%. I think that's what I like the most about like the real estate industry. I feel like just as a whole, it's very like friendly, and it's very like people are willing to help you. Like I feel like in some industries, like they're just trying to step on you to get to the top. But I feel like when it comes to like real estate, like my small time on like Bigger Pockets and like those forums and stuff like that, like it's very like friendly. Like, hey, we want to help you. We want to reach out. Just like it takes you reaching out and making an initiative. You know what I'm saying? Because even when I hit you like a little while ago, because you were like willing to help me, but obviously I just life happens and whatever. But no, it's just, I think that's so cool. And like you said, like you talk to new contractors and stuff like that. I think that's,
I might need contractors one day too. I mean, we're also in that side of the business, and it doesn't hurt to have a team, because one of the things is that you want strong contractors. You want to keep, you build your team. So if I have strong contractors that I can keep busy and, so the more connections, and I want people to, when they think of properties or they think of off-market properties or like who has all the good deals, I want them in Chicago to think Victoria.
Exactly.
That's fine. So I'm trying to make sure that my name is out there, my business card, I'm giving it out, and it also helps that I'm a realtor as well. So no, I love it. So it helps so much that I'm a realtor as well. So it brings a little bit more where, I can talk to other realtors and kind of, because what people don't know is that the realtor broker side is completely different than the investor side. People think you need to get your license in order to invest in real estate, and 110% you do not.
They're going to come for you.
Yeah, they're going to come for you.
They're going to cancel you.
Yep. And then I have people that ask, because with wholesaling, I do have to say, it was about 8 months ago, there's a new law that says you can only do one deal in Chicago for wholesaling. Because once you start doing two, it's a business and it's more like, So I got my license. Okay. I'm working for an amazing broker, Dior Realty. There's a plug.
Shout out to them.
And shout out to Twana. Yeah. But I actually met her because I bought a property from her. So the property we're fixing up in Calumet City, I actually purchased from her. We had a really great connection. Yeah. She's probably one of the best people in Chicago in real estate to know. So I'm under a really strong person, and it helps that she's female. She's a strong female managing broker too.
Love to see it.
So, I purchased that property from her, and I was like, hey, I'm going to get my broker's license. The main reason was mostly because of the wholesaling. I wanted to do it in a legal way, obviously, and then make sure I'm following, I'm not trying to get in trouble.
Exactly.
The fine is hefty. It's like $20,000 or $25,000 if, you cross this line of so they're not joking.
Yeah, they're not playing with you.
So how I got around that, I got my broker's license, which helps because when I fix up properties or when I'm working with investors, not only do I get to make money on the front end where I'm selling them the property and putting maybe $5,000 to $10,000 when I sell it to them. Also on the back end, when it's fixed up and it looks beautiful and they want to put it on the market, I'm right there. I'm there from start to finish where, and I have that relationship. Yeah. And real estate is heavy on the networking, like heavy. Huge. If you are a people person and you do focus on doing good business, you will succeed in this business, and you'll have enough people that will say, like, let me show you how to do this. Let me help you with this. And really when you find those good people in real estate, take care of them, work with them, give back. And also, like, you know, 100%. What can you give people and benefit them as well?
No, that's a fact. So then let's go to the opposite spectrum. Yeah. What about the people who do have a surplus of money and want to get into real estate but don't really know where to start?
Yeah. So that's a good question too. So it really depends on what their end goal is, you know, so that one's hard to say just because, you know, do they want that cash flow? Do they want that generational wealth? If so, you know, you can go into a building. There's 18 units that we sell in Chicago. If they want to if they really want to put their money into something, you could buy up to something, you know, an 18 plus, you know, unit and rent those out, fix and flip it. Some people, even though they have all this money, they just want to focus on single family. So the best thing that I would say is find a niche and become really, really good at it. 100%. You know, because there's people that they go to single family, they go to multifamily, which is fine, but they're kind of all over and they never get really, really good at one thing. And so the numbers sometimes don't always make sense. And so, you know, get really familiar with what you want to do. Do you want to be a landlord? Do you want to and have that generational wealth? You know, but again, you can also hire a property management company. So there's ways where you can put your money into things and also like take that. Let's say you don't want to be a landlord, you can kind of delegate those things out. So I would really you know, sit down and think about, what do I want? Do I want to fix and flip? You know, I know people who have a surplus of money, they only fix and flip. So they would really need to figure out, what do they like to do? What do they want to do? And like I said, there's people we work with in California that lend on properties here in Chicago with us, and they don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to, but you know, they're making a couple $1,000s at the beginning of the loan. 100%. They're making 15% plus some money when we sell the property. Like, if you put those numbers together, they're making a lot of money on just lending money for 3 to 4 months.
Facts. So that's wow. So find your niche.
Yes.
If you have a surplus of money,
and become a pro at it.
And then so this is my personal I guess my personal experience with real estate, because I got back from Houston, and my mentor, like, we both know him, but my mentor, he was like, go buy a house. And I'm like, I don't know about that. You know what I'm saying? But he's like, nah, go buy a house. So it was in Country Club Hills. Okay, we talked about that a little bit. So it was like $100,000 house, but they want you to put 20% down. And it's like I don't know if I want to put like that much money down on the house. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of bread, and that's like a lot. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making, you know, millions of dollars, so it's crazy. So what's your advice about that? Because I was scared, because it's like, you put all that money down, but then you don't really know, like, this was obviously in COVID. So like, what's your advice for people like that? Because then I talked to one of my other friends who was in the real estate. He's like, why would you put $20,000 down when you can put $5,000 down into like 4 different properties?
I mean, you can actually put 3% down with an FHA loan.
But how? Like, how?
So that's a first-time owners. That's a loan that they have out. Like, you could have done that if it was your first time home buyer. And you could put 3% down. That's where me as your realtor, I could help you. There's a plug for me. But you can go, you know, you can put that 3% down. But also the way I look at it is, you know, I wish I could do the math right now, but I was doing this with one of my fitness clients, because I still have clients where, and she pays, we literally did it a couple days ago, because I'm always, you know, I'm always dropping little things, and I always kind of see if people are interested in real estate, want to know more. You know, I'm not going to push real estate on anybody, but I always hope that I can add some value to get people thinking. 100%. And she was like, okay, well, I pay about $3,000. She lives in downtown area for rent every single month. They've lived there for about 7 years. If you do the math of $3,000,
oh, she's been spending that
for, you know, 7 years, and you multiply that, I mean, how many homes, you know, could she have bought with that?
And that's crazy that you even say that, because I was gonna move out. I know I'm a bum right now. I'm still living at home with my mom, but whatever.
Save your money, honestly.
Figure that out later. So no, I was gonna do the whole downtown thing. You know, I'm about to be 26. You know what I'm saying? I definitely want to get the little, not nothing too crazy, just like probably like, you know, 1700. You know, nice view, whatever. Like, I think I'm gonna try it. But then I was just doing the math, because I'm only here for, you know, for so long. I'm here, then I'm gone, and like my biggest thing has always been, I don't want to pay 2 rents. That's why it's been hard for me to move out, because I'm always like in different places. But there was this really nice spot that I found. It was probably going to be total. It's probably going to total out to like $1,700, like the parking space. Now, like, you know, downtown's annoying. Like, parking spots like $200 a month.
Yeah, I would need a parking spot.
It's trash, exactly. Yeah, and I need like gated. I need it in the building. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? I need to be attached. I don't want to be out in the cold. My car all snowy. No, so. And then I did the math. It was going to be like $10,000 for like that 6 months. And I'm just like, and obviously I wanted to do it because just being young, you know what I'm saying? I want to be downtown.
But where does it go? Exactly. You're never going to see that again.
And I was thinking about that, like, because it brought me back to when I was going to get that property. And I'm like, yo, I'm really just making this landlord richer. And I'm kind of like burning a hole in my pocket. Exactly. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
When it comes to rent, because then. Say I lived in there for a year, what is that going to be like? Damn near 40,000 in that same. And I was thinking like that $10,000 I could save.
Been equity in a property.
I could save and I can go put that toward a property. Yep. And that's when I started to reach out because my dad's ex-wife, she's into properties because I guess like I didn't know this, so she told me that. Because I always wanted to get into like either single family or like duplexes or 3 flats or whatever. But I guess like if you go over a 3 flat, that's considered a commercial.
Over
or a 3 door or something like that.
If you go to like a 5 unit plus, that's now considered commercial. Yeah,
and that's when you have to put that 20% down or something like that. And like that was crazy.
But that's what's crazy is you can put 3% down for a 3 unit building, and that's going to be way more manageable. I mean. That's very possible.
Exactly.
And you could, there's people I've worked with where they did Airbnb in the bottom. They did rent in one, and then they lived at the top for free, literally. Yeah, and they were almost getting paid money to live in the property because
that's crazy.
It paid for their mortgage and a couple $100s more. So they were essentially getting paid to like a couple $100s to live in a property that, I mean, you're paying a mortgage for, but you're getting paid to live.
Man, you living rent free. That's the goal, and that was my biggest like pushback. I don't know. I didn't want to, like you said, like old girl. She's paying that $3,000 a month. You do the math on how much she spent on rent, and then how much she could have put towards something or just having her own. You know what I'm saying? Well, that's my biggest thing. I don't want to rent. I obviously hate living at home. It sucks, but like I don't want to rent. But also like. I want to make the smart decision to own my own, and you know what I'm saying, and to get into real estate because, like you said, that's something you can pass down to your kids, and like we said, they're not buying no more land. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, but just like where to start, and that's my biggest thing, or like getting approved on a loan. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like that's very difficult too. Do you help people get approved on loans?
So I do have a network where I can help people get approved for loans. We also got hard money lenders. Like I said, we have. And once I open up my own brokerage in a couple of years, I have already a loan officer that's ready to join. She told me last night, actually. So,
congratulations.
Perfect timing where she's like, I only want to work with you and your partners. And we have a really good thing going. So we're going to have people on site. Like, you heard it here first. We're going to have an all in-house where you can get a property where, you can learn how to invest. You can learn all of these things. Get the loans. Hard money is a little bit different. It's a little bit more expensive.
Exactly.
But sometimes getting a loan just the regular way is a little bit difficult. But there's so many different ways in real estate to get money. There's a thing that we tried to do. We were going to, and then we didn't jump on it quick enough. That was our fault. It was also a lesson that we need to, when we have a good deal, like you can't wait. And if the numbers make sense, you got to move on if it's something you want.
Facts.
But we were going to do something called owner financing in Logan Square. So we were going to give the owner $10,000 to begin with, just for her property.
Okay.
We were going to pay off the mortgage. We were going to rehab the property. And then we were going to refinance it. So, with that money, usually you get about 75% of what it's worth after you fix it up.
Exactly.
You're going to refinance it. You can pull all of that money out. I could have paid her off. And essentially, like, I got this building when I initially only put $10,000 in. I'm fixing it up, but I got to refinance it, pay her off, and pay. So I didn't have to come in with all this money and all of this. So, like, I guess what I'm getting at is that there's so many creative ways to get into a property. You don't have to go the traditional way. You don't have to go get a loan from a bank, for a home for you to live in.
Wow.
And the biggest thing is that equity in the property. So, like, if you think that we were talking about, I'd rather put equity into a property or money into a property than I would rent. Going back to the property we have in Calumet City, I had said that let's say we put in $50,000, and just as it's worth $110,000, $120,000 now
100%.
After it's fixed up, we can refinance it, pull money out, pay back our investors, which we're planning on doing, and now we have a property that essentially we put no money into because we had people that came in from the outside. put their money in for the rehab for the purchase price. We got a property for free, quote unquote. And we also have money. So if we refinance, you're pretty much taking 75% of what it's worth. So it'd be that 120,000, right? So the bank's going to give me that much money. I'm going to pay my investors off for that $50,000 that they invested in. And now I'm going to have maybe a couple $10,000, $20,000 left over that I can put into a new property.
Wow.
I don't know if I hope that makes sense, but it's kind of just, you can build off of one property. You just need that one to get started.
Facts.
And you could bring friends in. If you don't have the funds, let's say each of your friends brought in $3,000, you invested in a property. Let's say each of you made $5,000 to $10,000. You still made a profit. Profit is profit, and I think people go into it thinking they're going to be a millionaire.
That part.
So you're not going to be a millionaire. You need to build off of what you have 100%. And then continue to build. Yep.
So then what about, so you're really based in Chicago. Would you ever consider going into other markets or something like that?
I already have.
Really?
Yeah. I was doing deals actually in Cleveland, Atlanta.
I heard about Cleveland.
Yep.
I've thought about Texas.
Yep. Texas too.
I just know Illinois taxes are like the worst, like really compared high to California. So that's why I was never. Yep. That's what scares me about being in Illinois' market. Because I just I don't stay in a good market. That's why I don't want to get into it.
Exactly. I think this is my opinion. I think the downtown area is going to take a hit just because property taxes are going to be higher.
Exactly.
People, there's not much right now at the time that we're in. Yeah. People living in the city, it's a difficult time, and not everybody. People want space. Like, people have been so close for the last year where people are like, I need a yard. I need to get away from my significant other. Exactly. Because people are working from home more. So they're like, I need space. I can work from anywhere.
That's good. Yeah.
So, people no longer have to go to their downtown office or their to in person because everything has become so, virtual.
Exactly.
So I do think, but it's the surrounding areas that I think people are going to start to push out to. Again, this is my own personal opinion, but they're going to start pushing out to, and that those values will rise.
I definitely have seen that.
Yeah. I mean, the areas we're working in right now, where the investor, we're trying to hit closing on 10 to 15 properties a month to fix and flip. So that's kind of where we've grown our partnership and our business, is that we're working, it was a wholesaling business that's now turning into a bigger vision. So like, we took the funds, and I was laughing with you actually at the beginning before we started recording, and I said, we didn't really start taking any profits from our business until like just a few months ago.
So smart. Yeah.
And the reason why, I had my fitness business and I never left it was because of the fact that like, we took all the profits that we made from wholesaling, we put it into more contacts, more addresses, more, so now I'm trying to build more, generate more deals, take more of that money, generate more deals.
Yeah, use your money to make money.
Yep, exactly. So now we're trying to do 10 to 15 in Chicago with our partners a month. And going back to, you were asking like in other states, the method that we have, that we do wholesaling here in Chicago, we do to other states. So maybe you need a license in Illinois. Yeah. So after that first deal, maybe you can't do it. But we have partners that we're working with in California. We're working in, like I said, the market's way bigger. Houses go for hundreds and thousands of more dollars there. So, when you take the profit, here we make 10 to 20. People there make 50, 75, 100,000 off of one wholesale deal, and that's normal.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So the market, it depends on the market. Atlanta, like I said, Cleveland. I was in Cleveland. I loved that market, and it was cool because my sister lives there, her husband, my niece, and my nephew. And I definitely, I would like to continue in that market. But there's a model that was happening, and there's a lot of investors right now that are in Cleveland. Yeah. And at the moment, we're trying to take that same model that's happening in Cleveland and bringing it to Chicago. So right now, we're in the process of bringing something that has already happened in Philly, Cleveland, and also it was somewhere in New York as well. And we're trying to take that model and do it here. So I think the values will go up.
Oh, wow, for sure.
Yeah.
So then this is my last question. So what are the different categories? Obviously we got into wholesaling. You said fix and flips. You talked about rehab a little bit. Then I think you might have even just touched on BRRRR a little bit, because, I mean, from from like the normal person who's not really into real estate, like what is that? What are those? What do those mean? And like and what are they exactly?
Yeah. So just starting.
So we know what wholesaling is.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So the wholesaling, fix and flip. That's pretty much you go in. There's a property, you fix it up, and then you sell it. You put it on the market. Yeah. Buy and hold. That's essentially going to be you go in. You know, you might fix it up. You might just there's something called a turnkey, which people. That's another.
I heard of that one.
That one is.
That's like you buy the. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
You buy like new, right?
Yeah. So but there's already a tenant in there.
Oh, there's already a tenant. I didn't know that.
Yeah. So someone has already rented or fixed it up, put a tenant in there, and you're just buying it where there's already a tenant. They're already paying rent. So you can literally go out and there's companies that have already fixed and flipped and put someone in the property.
Those are more expensive though, right?
Yeah. So that's the thing between properties. That's why when I have off-market properties, it's so essential it's so important to investors because they don't want to pay that market value because they're going to be paying top dollar to have this, which cuts into their profit.
Exactly.
They want the properties as cheap as they can so that they pay in the long run. They can start making money in a higher, a return on their investment essentially a lot quicker. So the turnkey, buy and hold is what I was saying was that you can, fix it up or you can buy it and you can just kind of put a tenant in. It depends on what route you want to take. There is the BRRRR, like you said. So that's buy, rehab, rent, refinance. So that's kind of what I was going into a little bit and rambling on about with our Calumet City property where we're doing that exact strategy. Exactly. So the BRRRR strategy is something where, honestly, that's what we're building our empire on. So if that's something, people can contact me directly as well to kind of go further into it. Bigger Pockets has a book and also a forum that goes completely into it. But that is a really, really, if people are looking to build that generational wealth and also they want more money to pull out of property, like you can pull, that's why equity is so important in properties. Like you can pull money out and put it into more properties and put it and continue that cycle.
That's how I was explaining to it, yeah.
Yep. To be more hands off, you could do lending. Like I said, like you can literally just lend out your money and have a return. There's people who are in stocks, who are investing money in real estate, who are like, you don't need to stick to one thing. And actually, I would recommend that people who are in real estate, they also venture off into those other things.
To diversify.
Yeah, you have to diversify. Yeah. There's, I'm trying to think, Airbnb. So you can do an arbitrage. There's also people who purchase a 3-unit building or a 2-unit building and pay the mortgage with the Airbnb profit. Yeah. So you don't have to do Airbnb arbitrage, which is what we did, renting it out with the landlord like a tenant. Or there's the Airbnb where you buy the building and pay the mortgage with that. Yeah. Vending machine isn't really real estate, but in my head, it's kind of like similar. Exactly. So we were actually doing PPE vending machine. So which is like when COVID came out with the face mask and the hand sanitizer. We didn't move forward, but we had a contract that was with the CTA actually that they wanted to put us in multiple different locations in the CTA. Block 37 wanted us to put two of our little vending machines in there. They have them actually across in Asia and all of these other places. They have PPE vending machines, but there's also working with laundromats. I wanted to buy my niece a vending machine in her swim school, and laundromats and whatever. And it's a little source of income, and she can also learn, profit and loss and things like that. Exactly. It's just another source of income.
100%. No, that is crazy, man. You really dropped so many gems. Like I'm gonna have to go and rewatch this myself to learn and take notes on the like websites and the forums you said. But
can I say one more thing that's crazy though? That our next project and this even this Calumet City property that I just had mentioned a couple times. We're, we talk about generational wealth. That's something like you and I spoke about, and I know a lot of people want that. There's one of these properties is going to be specifically dedicated for my kids or for, maybe my niece or nephew, where this property, by the time that they turn 18 years old, I want it to be paid off, and they have money that they can sell the property and 100%. They can make a profit and put that into a business. They can put it towards college. They can now put it into whatever it is that they want to do, or they can hold on to it, have income coming in. Yeah. And that property is now, again, like by the time that they're 18, it's going to be paid off. Exactly. And they now can learn real estate, the value of it. And let's say they don't want to do real estate. You know, I've spoken about this with my fiance, and we're okay with that. They don't need to be in real estate. Obviously, we think that they will be, because we obviously are, but we know the value of it. But they can start their own business. They're going to have the opportunity. College is so expensive these days. Facts. Like how, you can take this property and now pay off school. You're not going to be in thousands of dollars of debts because 100%. Of this one property that I start now, and by the time that they're 18 years old, it will be a huge asset to them. Exactly.
And say you have that one property, then you get another property, then by the time, like whatever, say they're 18, you guys have 10, 15, 20 properties. Now you've accumulated this huge wealth, and like you said, you've started this empire. And that's how you create generational wealth. And now those properties, they're not going nowhere. You know what I'm saying?
Put that money into stocks, put it into, whatever it is that they want to do, as long, it's going to be their choice with that money, as long as we're there to kind of help guide them of like, you want to invest your money, you want to, because nowadays I feel like it is literally essential that people learn financial literacy, that people learn, about these things, because it is no longer a luxury. There's a quote out there that says it's no longer a luxury, it's a necessity, and I 110% believe that. Same. And what's crazy is financial literacy is not taught in schools. You know what I'm saying? It's learned from at home, it's learned from your parents, and that's so cool, because were your parents big into real estate? No, so not at all. Like you are starting a whole generation now of financial literacy, building generational wealth. You know what I'm saying? And you can pass that to your kids, and that's pass to your kids, and that's how new generation, like that's how generations start, and that's how what I'm saying, like new traditions in your generation start. Exactly. And that's awesome. That's so dope. And that's been my biggest goal, and I really want to get into real estate. And I definitely got to get back in contact with you, especially when you talk about this 3% down, because that's more of my alley. Where you want to go. That 20% down was burning a hole in my pocket. I'm like, nah, I'm good on that. But 3% down is amazing, and learning those loans and just and lenders to contractors, you just really dropped a lot of gems. I just want to say thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate it. It was great to catch up. It's been a long time. It's been a long time. It's been a time. And I'm glad that this is kind of the introduction. I love that you're doing this now, and it's awesome. And what's really funny is, and you can totally take this out, but I remember that you were the only person this was in like grade school. Here we go. That could outrun me out of all the boys, and I was so mad because he was so fast. That was me. But we would play kickball. We're talking about grade school. Yo, this is elementary. And I was so mad, and I still remember that we raced from one side of the playground to the other, and you were the only person that could beat me. I wasn't going. I wasn't losing. I don't lose. Still don't to this day. Nah, but thank you, man. Wow, this is just so cool to see the growth, man. Because I saw you doing the training thing. Not even training thing, training business. Not to be disrespectful, but now the real estate, and you're just going crazy. You're just crushing it, and that just is so cool to see, and it's very inspiring. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely something I want to get into. Definitely something I want to keep in contact with you about. But no, you guys definitely need to keep in contact because. She's low key right now, but if you know her, she's very high key. But as you got a lot of stuff coming. Yeah, she's got a lot of stuff in the bag, in the arsenal. You know what I'm saying? She's definitely in the bottom of her bag right now. So definitely gonna put your information in the bio. Thank you. Know what I'm saying? Follow her on social media. Definitely gonna put that in the bio also. But just show how can people contact you, and how can people reach out and learn, because obviously you're a very personable person. You know what I'm saying? So. And I honestly, I love giving out free game. We both believe that, so much of this stuff, you don't need a guru to learn all this stuff. You don't need, so I would love to talk about real estate with people, whether it's buying your first property and you just want to live in it. Again, not everybody wants to invest, but if you want to invest, my name is Victoria Hoffman. You can contact me. Probably Instagram is the best, Victoria.Hoffman_. For sure. And that's probably the best way, or my email, business email, trustedpropertyinvestors@gmail.com. Yeah. So thank you again, man. Make sure y'all leave a review, subscribe to the channel. You know what I'm saying? Let us know what you think of Tori and her topics in the comment section. And thank you guys for taking the time out again.
Beautiful Victoria Hoffman, man. You know what I'm saying? Newly engaged. She didn't bring the ring out today because it's getting resized, but it is fat. So shout out her fiance for that. You know what I'm saying?
Shout out to Caesar.
Yeah, shout out Caesar, bro. You're going crazy. I'm jealous, but that ring is fire.
Thank you.
But thank you guys.
Thank you.